Welcome back, everybody, to Jocks of All Trades podcast. I'm Kyle. Just me tonight. Brad's out sick, so we're going to power through and do the best we can. But a really kind of super exciting last couple of weeks in the NFL, college football. As you know, college football a couple days ago, a lot of big games. Um, Specifically, Tennessee, Georgia. Tennessee went down. Alabama went down against LSU. Last week, Ohio State, beat the crap out of Penn State near the end of the game. A lot of shakeup going on in college football and the NFL. A lot of crazy stuff as well with the trade deadline. And then today, some of the biggest news in the buzz right now is Frank Reich out as the Colts head coach. So pretty massive thing. Frank Reich, coming off that Eagles Super Bowl 2017 team as the offensive coordinator, and the Colts just fell in love with him, got him. They went out, got Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. That Colts franchise really tried to find their QB, could not. And a lot of people, respected the crap out of Frank and what he's done, what he's accomplished in his life as a head coach, and what kind of man he is. But he is out today as the head coach for the Colts. So pretty big shakeup there. And then a couple hours later, after that news, the Colts are putting Jeff Saturday as their head coach now. Jeff is on the staff in some capacity or in the organization in some capacity, but he's not a coach. The highest level he's coached is high school football, and he is 20-16 in his career. So, Colts, what the heck are you doing? And maybe some Colts fans listen to this podcast. But listen, I'm going to tell you guys straight up, it's horrible. It's really bad. What they've done with Frank, what they've done with their picks, with their assets, and now what they've done with Jeff Saturday. I mean, Frank Reich is out, and that's a move you can make, honestly. Not performing well. So, but I think he's a scapegoat. I think all these guys are scapegoats right now. I mean, getting Phillip, getting Carson, getting Matt Ryan. In my opinion, even though Carson Wentz, I think, out of that trio there, had the most potential to be something long term, none of them were truly the answers or the guy. You could tell that after Carson Wentz's first year with the Colts. You could tell that, okay, like, he could take us to the playoffs someday if we surround him with everything. But you could also tell that, like, he's not going to really turn that franchise around. He's not going to be the guy. And then they're like, all right, we'll dish you off, Carson, which, again, that's a move you can make, but it's kind of a scapegoat move. And we'll go ahead and get Matt Ryan. And Jim Irsay's like, Carson Wentz was a horrible leader, basically a piece of crap. I love Matt Ryan, man. He's a great leader, one of the best leaders ever since Peyton Manning. Great player. And honestly, Matt Ryan isn't anymore. Matt Ryan just got benched for Sam Ellinger. And you could say that was a scapegoat move from Frank Reich, saying, hey, Matt Ryan's not giving it to me. He's not giving me his all. He's not progressing in his offense. His stats are bad, whatever, turning the ball over. So we're going to give it to the young gun, and maybe it can prolong my time here as the Colts head coach. So the situation is all about scapegoating. But we're not talking about the real guys here. That's Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay has talked out of his butt the last few years in a really bad way. And Chris Ballard has not done anything to improve this team at all. They're still trying to live off of Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard. I mean, other than that, like, I understand they brought in Jonathan Taylor, and he's a really good back. But he's their entire offense. He goes down, their offense is screwed. And even Quentin Nelson right now is not doing that well. Their O-line's pretty underwhelming. The receivers, underwhelming. I mean, Alec Pierce has some ability. Michael Pittman has some ability, but there's no number one there, maybe not even number two. Taylor's out, and their defense, besides Darius Leonard, which I don't think his name is Darius anymore. Forgive me, I forget. Shaq Leonard maybe is what he wants to be known as now. But outside of him, the defense is also pretty weak. I mean, you got DeForest Buckner there, so I can't hate on him. But know what I'm saying? The influx of talent has not been there. But the biggest part of that is finding a legitimate quarterback. And Ballard and Irsay are most definitely on the same page. Let's just go ahead and get a veteran out there and then just BS our way into making you believe this guy can lead us somewhere. Matt Ryan cannot. Carson Wentz cannot. Philip Rivers cannot. You have to find a guy, the guy. And I don't think Frank Reich, I don't think they gave him the benefit of the doubt there. He's working with old, just has-been quarterbacks. I mean, I understood he's part of the success in getting the Eagles the ring with Nick Foles, but listen, that's once in a million, man. That's Nick Foles. Like it's hard to replicate that, recreate that into a modern day NFL offense. Like there's not many Nick Foleses anymore, and like pocket passers, literally just balling out. Amazing offensive line, by the way. Like Nick Foles in the Super Bowl had an amazing offensive line. The Colts don't really have that. And when you have a pocket passer and not a great O line, a guy like Matt Ryan who literally cannot move, bad things will happen. And it's hard to make an offense with that. I mean, even look at Tom Brady, who's struggling right now. I know he won yesterday, but their O line's crap, and he's getting beat up for it. You can't move around. And if he can't get the ball out quick, he's kind of screwed. So the Colts, in their entirety, their franchise is just really, really in a bad place, and they need to figure it out quick. For Chris Ballard's sake, he needs to figure it out quick. Irsay will be there for a while, but he's an idiot. I'll just put it like that. I think he's an idiot. He's a moron. I'm glad he spoke up about Dan Snyder. That's the next thing we'll talk about here. Dan Snyder. I'm glad he spoke about Dan Snyder and his ineptitude as an owner. But yeah, the Colts need to figure it out. It's just really, really bad move. This isn't Madden. You just don't pick up a former player and be like, yeah, you'd be a head coach now. That's not how it works. Next thing here, Dan Snyder, they're going to probably sell the team. It looks like reports are they're in the process of looking. And that would be great for all Commanders, all Washington fans out there. He is 100% the main problem there. Just a horrible guy, honestly. Not a great human being. And their fans have suffered for it. Their team has suffered for it. Bad decision after bad decision. Ron Rivera is a decent head coach, I guess, but he's not going to take them to where they want to go. He's just like a filler at that point. They really need a whole refresh, a whole reset. Could that come with another team name? Maybe. Hopefully. I don't like the Commanders. But all in all, it's good for Washington and their fans, their players, to get someone new in there, someone fresh, someone that's a little less insane than Dan Snyder. So good on them. I'm glad that's happening. Trade deadline. That's another big thing that happened. I don't think we really talked in depth about it. Just a couple moves, I think. But yeah, I mean, Robert Quinn was the first one to go, I believe, to the Eagles, McCaffrey to the 49ers. We all know that. Some big things that happened. Roquan Smith went to the Ravens from the Bears for a second-round pick. And with that second-round pick, the Bears went after Chase Claypool. So in that little trio of moves there, Roquan Smith to the Ravens, Claypool to the Bears. I love the Steelers move. I don't think Claypool is a long-term guy for them. I think they know that Pickens is probably going to be pretty good. Deontay Johnson's probably never going to leave Pittsburgh. He's good. I would say he's number one, but he's good. Needs to work on catching the ball. Freiermuth there at tight end. I think they like him. We know Najee Harris, a little bit of iffy back right now, but their offensive line is pretty bad. So I do think they have some guys there that they can build around. I don't think Claypool was a long-term answer for them. I think that's why they're willing to give him up. And the Bears, I mean, like I said, if you listen to this podcast last number of weeks, I put out there a hot take kind of that the Bears should really trade all their defensive, not all of them, but some of their defensive players and really recoup some offensive players to move around Justin Fields because that offense is horrid and he's been struggling and he's getting hit, he's getting killed, just not in a good situation. They did that. They traded Roquan Smith and basically got Claypool for him. I don't I don't think that's the greatest thing ever. No, I'm glad they got him a weapon, but I would take Roquan Smith over Claypool any day of the week. Um, I just think the value there is not even. Um, I'm glad they got offense. Like I said, good job. Um, but I think uh, in terms of just players, if you can even evaluate players, linebacker versus receiver, who's more talented, who's better, I think Roquan Smith is most definitely the better player. Um, More of an impact guy, I would say. So I don't think their compensation was the greatest, but I can't fault them for getting some help for Justin. He is their future. He is their franchise. That's like again not the greatest move, but you can convince me like this was a good move because that offense was struggling. Um, and beyond the Claypool move, they've done a really, really nice job of catering that offense around Justin Fields' ability to run the ball. I mean, they were just like a let's drop back and let Justin survey the field, see what he can do. You don't have the guys for that. You need to use his legs, much like Jalen Hurts with the Eagles, much like Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, much like Malik Willis with the Titans, even though Malik's has some struggles passing the ball. Uh, a lot of the good things about those guys is their running. Daniel Jones too. Their running ability. If you can run it, we're going to use those legs to our advantage and make the defense second guess, make them think, make them get and get some bad coverages, and you can use your legs and move the ball. And they have done that. And I think when you add a Chase Claypool to this offense, and then you allow Justin to use his legs, I think you can do eventually a lot of neat things. And while I don't think you're like playoff ready, maybe not even the next couple of years, the ability for Claypool and Fields to grow is a very good thing. And also, they do have some good picks going forward. So um, I like it. Don't love it. But I'm glad they're making a move for Justin. For the Ravens side of that deal, Roquan Smith, I think that's a great move. I think Roquan's really going to fit in with the Ravens very well. Their inside backers, i.e., Patrick Queen, I don't think he's great. I think the name was there on draft day, and I think people had hope for him, but I don't think he's lived up to that. I think Roquan most definitely will. I think he's going to add a lot of juice to the middle of that defense. Our defense has been struggling, but I think he's a valued addition, and I think he's going to do well for the Ravens. Next big thing, T.J. Hawkinson to the Vikings. I love that move for the Vikings. I would say when Claypool got traded, the value for that, the Bears gave up more for Claypool than the Vikings did for T.J. Hawkinson. Um, make of that what you will, but I think T.J. Hawkinson can add a lot more value to the Vikings right now and in the future. He's a top 10 tight end for sure. He was drafted 9th overall by the Lions. Um, Great blocker and pretty good receiver for a tight end. It's a bold move, but I really I really like it. You got Jefferson there, KJ Osborne, Thielen. Um, their running game could use some help. Their passing game could use some help, and I think Hawkinson can do that for them. I mean, I don't remember the last tight end they had. Kyle Rudolph, maybe. I mean, you have Irv Smith there, but he hasn't been doing what he's supposed to be doing. I think he's probably better as like you know, an H back, someone you can put at fullback, someone you can move around at tight end, a second tight end option. I think he's probably better in that role than a number one tight end role, and I think TJ's good for him. The Lions, I don't know if I truly understand it. I mean, I think Hawkinson can be a locker room guy, a stud, um, a number one target. Like he can be a number one target on an offense. And again, they drafted him 9th overall a few years ago, so I guess they just don't really think that he'll be around when they start competing for a playoff spot. And maybe that's why. Maybe they don't value the tight end position as much, and they thought they could get some good picks for him, and they did. But you can see the Lions right now. They're struggling, no doubt. They're struggling, but I hope they have a plan in place. I hope they have a move in place. I hope they know what they're doing, because I think Hawkinson is one of those guys that I wouldn't be like, yes, let's. If he was 35, 34, like, oh, he's not around for much longer. They can trade him, but he's still a relatively young guy and a good young player. So a little bit questionable, but I guess I really can't fault them for it because they're not going to be in the playoffs anytime soon. Naeem Hines went to the Bills. Zach Moss went to the Colts. That's a decent move, I think, for both teams. Colts need some picks. Again, they're going to be in rebuild mode here pretty soon. And Naeem Hines, I think, is a little bit undervalued, in my opinion. I think he's a really good running back, a really good scat back. Zach Moss wasn't doing it for him. And Singletary, he's all right. He's a good running back, but they need more depth there. James Cook, who they drafted in the second round, has not been what they've wanted him to be. So I like this for the Bills. Jeff Wilson to the Dolphins. It's a good running back for him. They got rid of Chase Edmonds to the Broncos. So in that Bradley Chubb trade. And Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins, I love. We know that they have Jalen Phillips, I believe, at defensive end, and they wanted the guy to pair him up with. And Chubb has had a really good year this year. Injuries are a concern. They gave up a lot to get him, and they gave up a lot of money to extend him. But they believe that they are in win now mode and win in the next couple of years mode. And I would probably say you're right. It's very, very difficult to stop that offense right now, unless Tua gets hurt again, which is plausible with his injuries. But at the same time, it's a very difficult team to defend. And if they can get some help on defense, watch out. They definitely have a chance. I mean, they beat the Bills, right? They definitely have a chance to run the table, for sure. And I think this is a power move. This is like we think we can win right now. In the next few years, I think that Bradley Chubb will give them that for sure. Kadarius Toney went to the Chiefs. I don't know what's wrong with this dude. Can he really turn his athletic ability into consistent NFL production? Is a big thing. Crazy talented, crazy athletic, but never did a thing with the Giants. Always dealing with injuries and off the field things, and he didn't see eye to eye with Dable. Does that mean he's going to see eye to eye with Andy Reid? Like Dable, I think, is a very challenging head coach. He's going to challenge you, talk to you, probably yell at you, whatever. But I don't think Andy Reid is the opposite of that. Like, he's not going to deal with a bunch of bullcrap either. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. He's definitely going to see the field. He's definitely going to play a lot down the stretch if he's healthy, because he can do a variety of things. I think he has more athletic ability than Juju, than Scantling, and probably even Hardman too. Like, Hardman's probably faster, but Toney probably just has a little more in his tool belt in terms of yards after the catch and all of that. So I think Kadarius Toney can be a steal for them, much like Tyreek Hill was in the 5th or 6th round or 7th, whatever round the Chiefs got him at. Like, I think they can squeeze the most out of you, squeeze the most juice out of you. Sky Moore is still there. So I think it's not about this season for the Chiefs. I think he's going to get his time, his plays. But I think they're looking also for a long-term answer. And he could be that if he can stay healthy and get his crap together. Giants were just like, we're tired of you, and I don't blame them at all. Breece Hall was hurt with the Jets. We know that. They traded for James Robinson. I like that. That's a good move. Absolutely love that for them. I mean, I think that was pretty much it in terms of the massive, the big trades there. I thought some more were going to happen. I think one of the biggest things out of this trade deadline was that the Packers didn't do anything at all. They didn't do anything. They had offers on the table apparently. They were in for. They're probably in for DeAndre Hopkins. They were in for Kadarius Toney. It seems like after the fact, Brandon Cooks, I believe, they were always in on these guys, but they never do anything about it, and they're really screwed right now because of that. Romeo Dobbs is hurt. That's a big injury for them, considering they don't have many other guys. Packers are just in shambles right now, and they didn't do anything to help their roster, especially not at receiver. And the only guys you can get right now are probably Odell Beckham Jr. So good luck with that. I hope that works out for you. I don't think it will. I would definitely consider looking into some long-term rebuilding for them, because it doesn't seem right now that they are in any kind of contention to do anything, especially with their weapons, and their defense has been pretty bad as well. Next, I kind of wanted to look at who are the best teams in the NFL at midseason. And it's hard to say. You could think I'm biased because I'm an Eagles fan, but this is a big topic, a big conversation that's going on about who have you beaten. Like, are you actually really, really that good? Are you overrated? The league sucks. You haven't played any. It's just so many things going on with all these teams. Like, how is the NFC East? That's good. How is the AFC South this bad? AFC North ain't great. NFC West is pretty bad. Like, NFC South sucks. Buccaneers, like, just a lot of things that you think we're gonna have. How are the Vikings above the Packers? Those kind of things. Who are the best teams? Best records right now are the Eagles at 8-0. We know that. They are 90 points in differential right now, which is crazy. I believe the next highest is. I'm sorry. The Bills are at 102 point differential, and the Eagles at 90. After that, I believe the Cowboys are at 50. Chiefs are at 54. Bengals are somehow at 43 with this last win. So even though the point differential doesn't tell the entire story, it's still pretty massive. 102 points for the Bills and 90 for the Eagles. Eagles haven't lost. Bills have lost 2 games. Cowboys are 6-2. Giants are 6-2. Vikings are 7-1. Their only loss against the Eagles. Seattle with Geno Smith 6-3. Jets and Dolphins at 6-3 as well. Now, I would always say the Bills and the Chiefs right now are probably still on top for me, just because they are the Bills and the Chiefs. They have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, but they have shown that they can be beaten. And the Chiefs are almost beaten again last night. Easily could have had 3 losses if Malik Willis wasn't third, or if he was actually, a good quarterback. So, who are the best teams? That's what we're going to get down to right now. Bills number 1, Chiefs number 2, I think. The Eagles at 3. I think the Cowboys at 4. I think the Dolphins at 5. I think the Vikings at 6. Maybe Seattle at 7. Jets at 8. Ravens at 9, Titans at 10, Giants at 11, something like that. Maybe 49ers up there as well, but they also are 4-4. Again, just a weird year for the NFL in general, but my big thing with this whole who's the best team is, like, you have to beat the team in front of you. Like, you just have to. Division games are hard no matter what. I don't really care how it looks like, but you have to beat those teams. The Bills did not beat the Jets. Jets have Zach Wilson, who's pretty ugly. He's pretty bad right now, and a lot of Jets fans are kind of like, ugh, I don't know if he's the guy. They lost to him, and the Bills really didn't do much on offense whatsoever with one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Also, Josh Allen, little side note here. I believe he's had 14, if I'm doing that correctly. 14 turnover worthy plays plus interceptions, I think. So that means like interceptions plus tip balls that should have been interceptions. He's had the most. So he's really a gunslinger in that sense. He needs to turn down the turnovers, and I think they're fine. Chiefs at number 2. They're definitely missing Tyreek Hill a little bit, but it's still Patrick Mahomes. Eagles at 3. Again, they've beaten who's in front of them. I mean, the Chiefs lost to the Colts. All right? It's a bad team. Look what just happened. But somehow they lost to the Colts. So you just got to beat who's in front of you. And you could play the Bears every game. You could play the Lions every game, whatever. The NFL is a week-to-week league. Every team has their own mismatches, challenges you have to overcome, and the Eagles have done that. I'm very happy with them at number 3. I could put them at number 1, and I think I could argue that they deserve to be there. They do. Vikings, again, their only loss was the Eagles, but they've also beaten who's in front of them. Not by a major victory all the time. They have a 32-point differential there and 7 wins, and that's about less than 5 points per win if you think about it that way. So, not great, but with the addition of TJ, their defense is playing well. Kirk Cousins, if he's not in the limelight, he's all right. Jefferson's one of the best receivers in the game. Dalvin Cook, hopefully he gets healthy, and the offensive line has been a lot better for them. That's one thing that's been a major struggle for the Vikings in their time recently is their offensive line. So, happy for them. Seahawks with Geno, I don't think long term he's the guy, but short term he's doing a heck of a job. Kenny Walker, great rookie for them. Abraham Lucas, who they drafted this year. Charles Cross, who they drafted this year. Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant at corner. That's 5 guys right now that are making a massive impact for them. That's crazy. It's unheard of to have 5 guys right off the bat just doing work like that. So good for them. After the whole Russell Wilson debacle, like I thought, they're stupid. I'm never gonna get back to I'm an idiot apparently because Geno's doing work and the rookie class is really stepping up. So good for them. Their GM Pete Carroll, awesome work by them. Titans at 5-3. I really do like the Titans. I think their defense is always pretty good with Vrabel. And Henry's always impossible to stop. I think when Tannehill's in there, they present a little bit more of a threat in the passing game. But usually, if you do shut down Derrick Henry, you have a good chance of winning. And part of that is they didn't want to keep A.J. Brown, and that's really hurt them. A.J. Brown has had more receiving yards in the season than all the Titans receivers combined. So not great. Not great at all. So long story short, I think it's Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, Cowboys, Dolphins. I think that's what I would go with. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the NFL. We talked about most of that stuff ad nauseum. Maybe we'll go who is the MVP of the midseason at this point. And I'll just give my little spiel here. I think it's Jalen Hurts right now. I know that he has a fantastic team around him, coaching staff, defense is pretty good too. But what he's been able to do with his legs, with his mind, his decision making, I mean, people look at it as, oh, you have 40 touchdowns and like 18 interceptions, that's whatever, those don't matter. But he's doing it in a very different way. Even though he has a good amount of touchdowns, his game right now is just really just doing whatever the team needs him to do. He is the MVP, because no one can operate the offense like that. Uh, no one. I mean, there's so many RPOs. I mean, it's not like the most difficult offense to maneuver, to think of, to call plays. Some of it's very college, very simple, but his decision making in that and the ability with his mind, his legs, and his arm, he's really progressed in terms of accuracy, decision making. His running ability is insane. Every third and short, he's going to get. He's really in command. He's making plays with his legs, with his arm, with his uh, when he runs over people. He throws a good deep ball. His numbers have been very excellent this year, and also they're 8-0. Was really impressive by him so far. And maybe he won't win it this year, but like mid-season, I think he's definitely top two in terms of MVP conversation. I'd also put Pat Mahomes there as well. Um, Non-quarterbacks, I'd probably say Micah or Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is literally the most unguardable dude in the NFL maybe ever. Um, Absolutely insane what he can do for a team and how he can just turn around an entire offense. Honestly, even if Waddle wasn't, and Waddle's a heck of a player, but even if Waddle wasn't there and they had bums at receiver everywhere else, and Tua wasn't Tua, I still think their offense would be decent because he's literally unguardable. He can stretch the field. He can make defensive coordinators stay up all night try to figure out how do I stop him and not come up with a game plan on how to stop him. He's that unguardable. So quarterbacks, MVPs, I would say Hurts, Mahomes. Non-quarterbacks, I would say Tyreek Hill and Micah Parsons. On defense is Tyreek Hill. Usually pretty much unguardable. It's very hard. One-on-one, he's probably going to eat you up. You're probably not going to be able to stop him, or you better get the ball off quick to neutralize him, or run right at him. But even at that, sometimes he just reads it well, gets off the block, and makes a big play. So that would be my MVP choices if I got two quarterbacks and two non-quarterbacks. Let's go now to college football here. Again, some big things happened in college football. The rankings right now are Georgia at 1, Ohio State at 2. This is the AP. Michigan at 3, TCU at 4, Tennessee at 5, 8-1. Oregon 8-1 at 6. LSU at 7, 7-2. USC at 8, 8-1. UCLA at 9, 8-1. Alabama at 10, at 7-2 record. Mississippi at number 11 with an 8-1 record. Clemson at number 12 with an 8-1. Utah at 13, 7-2. Penn State at 14 with 7-2, and UNC at 15 at 8-1 record. That's the farthest I'll go. Yeah, it's this weekend kind of showed you that Georgia's still legit. Their defense is still incredible. I mean, Alabama put up no fight against the Tennessee offense. They couldn't stop them ever. They had like Will Anderson, who's one of the best defensive players in the game. They have a good linebacking core. They get some good secondary pieces, and still nothing. Georgia's just on a different level when it comes to defense. And if Stetson Bennett can give them some good plays, can move the ball with his legs, can get it to guys like Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers and McClunky or whatever his name is, it's really an unstoppable kind of team. I understand that they struggle against Kent State and Missouri, and you're going to have those games. I mean, Ohio State barely beat Northwestern. Michigan struggled with some teams early on in the year. Seems like every team has those games where they just struggle against inferior opponents. Oregon got blown out by Georgia and has looked pretty incredible since. Every team has those games. Clemson just lost to Notre Dame. I don't think we can take away, these games and be like, well, they struggle with a crap team. They don't deserve to be up there. Pretty much for the most part, every team has struggled with a crap team or gotten blown out by a really good team. That's just the nature of college football right now. So if you're 9-0 after these weeks, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, good on you. It's hard to do. No matter where you play, it's very hard to do. So good on them. I think Final Four long term. I think Georgia will still be up there. And honestly, if Ohio State and Michigan both win out and one team loses to the other, I kind of think they should both be up there. And after that, I think it's between Tennessee, TCU, and Oregon to get that last spot. So that's my opinion. You don't have to like it, but I think that's probably what it should be, considering if Michigan and Ohio State don't lose outside of their own game together. Um, yeah, just a crazy year in college football as well. Some big games with Tennessee going down to Georgia. Tennessee just had no chance, like I said. Um, Again, Ohio State barely scraping by against Northwestern, but the wind was horrible. Like, I give them a little bit of a pass. They found a way to win. Tennessee with a nail biter at Texas Tech. And Oregon just doing work with Bo Nix. We complained a lot about Bo Nix recently, and said how he's kind of garbage. Not a great quarterback. Just why did Oregon ever get him? But he's really turned it around. So good on him. I would say he's definitely in the Heisman race for sure. But yeah, I would say with these teams right now, they're all a little bit different. Georgia doesn't really have the guy at quarterback. Ohio State has C.J. Stroud, who's probably going to be a top 5 pick. Michigan doesn't have, McCarthy is not like the guy or like the dude, the Heisman leader, that kind of guy. He's good, but he's not great. Max Duggan at TCU is kind of like he's still playing. Hendon Hooker at 5 is definitely a Heisman candidate. But like Michigan and Georgia both just have really good defenses. They can win at the line of scrimmage and just overpower people. And that's a little bit different. I think I've said before, you need a really good quarterback to win the whole thing. And while I think that's probably the best way to go about it, I don't think that's the only way to go about it. However, you still have to have a quarterback that shows up in big games and does what he's supposed to do when his defense is carrying the load. Stetson Bennett, that 85-year-old, 25-year-old, he's 8th in the nation in QBR. He's only had 3 interceptions on the year. 68 completion percentage, I believe, 67.8 on the year. Last year he had a higher rating, but again, he's not really turning the ball over that much. He's using his legs quite a bit, most recently, and he's a good leader. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's not going out of his way trying to be the hero. He's giving it to his playmakers. He's letting his defense, step up and be the major thing on this team. So while he's not, C.J. Stroud, he is a guy that you can win with because of how he's holding on to the ball, making good decisions, and being that guy for the Georgia Bulldogs right now. We know what C.J. Stroud can do. We know what Bryce Young can do. Those are both really talented quarterbacks, top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL draft kind of guys, for sure. But not everybody's them. J.J. McCarthy is 13th in the country in QBR. 80.7, has only thrown 2 interceptions on the year. Again, 71 completion percentage. Moving the chains, not turning the ball over, letting his defense do the work, letting Blake Corum run all over everybody. That's how it's done. Now, if you have a good defense, but you have a quarterback that just turns the ball over and doesn't do what he's supposed to be doing, is not completing the ball at a high rate, is getting a lot of 3 and outs, just, i.e., Sean Clifford. I'll put his name in there because I can. 37th in QBR in the country. 7 interceptions, which is 77th. And about a 63% completion percentage. Our defense has been really good, Penn State, but if you have a quarterback that doesn't move the chains and turns the ball over quite a bit, you're not going to win. And that's the name of the game right there is if you don't have a stud quarterback, you have to have an elite defense. And I think Georgia has an elite defense. I think Michigan nearly has an elite defense. Ohio State's defense kind of concerns me sometimes, but again, CJ Stroud and those receivers, insane. So it'll be interesting to see at the end of the year what teams play each other. I think it's a chance for some really, really good matchups. Really excited to see those games at the end of the year. So I think that'll do it for this broadcast. A little bit short, short and sweet, but I hope you stuck around and enjoyed it. Talk a little bit about the NFL and the college football slate. And it should be pretty amazing next 4 to 5 weeks in college football. It should be a really exciting second half of the NFL football season. So I appreciate you all, and I hope you all have a good night. Bye.